And welcome to another episode of Gamerheads. My name is Roger, aka Rogue Leader 76, and with me, as always, are my co-host Blue,
aka Writer to You,
and my other co-host Mike,
aka Pezman Mike.
Welcome to today's show. We have a special guest joining us for our hot topic. We'll be talking about microtransactions. We're revisiting that and talking with David Mason from Hailstorm Games. We'll talk about microtransactions and the hot topic. We do have some news, and we have a couple of reviews as well. We have the review of Battle Princess Madelyn and Mages of Mystralia. But before we go into all of that, we do have an icebreaker. And our icebreaker this week is, which video game baddie or boss or even just like a low-ranking bad guy, which one do you hate fighting the most in video games?
There's a few of them that I was thinking. So Mike Tyson is probably one of them.
Yeah, that was my number one.
That was your number one too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Also, he winked at you. That was always really nice of him.
Well, at least he's courteous about it before he pummels you into the ground.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lump these two together. And I think it's because I haven't played in so long. Zeus from God of War 3.
Oh.
And the Krauser from Resident Evil 4.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. And those are always so hard because not only were they difficult QuickTime event battles, but if you didn't make it, you have to start over from the beginning. I think there might be a checkpoint in the Krauser fight, but still you have to go through that whole scene over again.
Oh.
That's one of those.
Annoying.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where that fight is way harder than the final boss of the whole game.
Yeah. Absolutely. And on that point, Blue, I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of bosses that are harder than the final boss in the entire game, I know Final Fantasy fans are gonna kill me for not knowing the character's name, but in Final Fantasy VII, that one boss that you fight in the underwater, and it's almost like impossible to beat that one. Like, seriously, you're battling this one for like 45 minutes, and it still takes you out. I completely forgot, but it's an optional battle. It's not a boss battle. I mean, it technically is because the thing's huge, but it's totally optional. You don't have to fight it. But I don't think I've ever once beaten it. So for those of you who adore Final Fantasy VII, I apologize. I just remember I did play the game and I did beat it, but I just can't remember the name of that boss underwater.
I don't either. It's been a long time since I played Final Fantasy VII, so I don't remember myself, actually.
So that's what I got.
Nice.
Emerald Weapon? Is that the one?
Yes, I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that is an optional one. I feel like we did beat that. And I think you're right. It did take like an hour to beat. But I feel like we beat Emerald Weapon.
Yeah. Final Fantasy, though, is kind of known for its like completely over-the-top side bosses that take forever to beat.
Yeah.
Like, especially once they started doing the like the beast arenas in like 10 and 12. I think 12 has one. Where like the beast keeper, you go and capture beasts and you bring them to him, and then he mixes them together to create these horrible unholy bosses with like millions and millions of hit points. And like it takes so long to beat them that they actually allow you to leave and save and come back.
Well, that's how Octopath Traveler is kind of too. There's like all these side missions. Like one of them is in chapter 1, where you can go fight this like Yeti creature in the north, but you better not fight him when you're in chapter 1 because he's like impossible to beat. Like you'll have to come back to him. But yeah, but you don't have to beat him.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a goal of beating him because, well, I just want to. But
whose chapter is that?
The cleric.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I kind of started mine on the opposite end of the map.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So once you get to her, she's like in the ice world, kind of. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you, Blue? What is your baddie that you don't like taking on?
I have a couple came to mind. Ursula from the original Kingdom Hearts is 100% the hardest boss in the game. So annoying. Way harder than the final boss. And also, it's that fight is particularly annoying because back then in 2002, the fight was preceded by a cutscene that they didn't allow you to skip.
Whoa.
So every time you died or somebody killed you, you had to watch the cutscene over. And it's like
that's so annoying.
It's like this horrible running joke among Kingdom Hearts fans.
Ugh.
But I'm pleased to say that they now allow you to skip the cutscenes.
Yeah, well, I was watching Game Informer stream it before the game came out, and they had to jump out of the cutscenes, obviously, but yeah, they were able to skip all the cutscenes, so that's good.
Yeah. Also, there are many terrible bosses in Cuphead. The one, the one that I hate the most is Jimmy the Great, the genie.
Oh, okay.
He is like, just for whatever reason, his particular combination of patterns just took me forever to figure out. Like, I know a lot of the Cuphead bosses seem like they're on the verge of being just so unfairly hard, but that one I was like, oh.
He wasn't too bad for me. My biggest problem on that was Dr. Cal's robots.
Oh, well, see, I still haven't beat it, so...
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yep, up until... as far as I've gotten, the ones that I've faced, the genie is the one. The rest of them seem not so bad compared to him.
Yep. Huh. And then the worst is then you watch people speedrun it, and they get through the boss in like 14 seconds, and you're like, the hell was I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Those people have a gift, and I don't have it.
Yeah. You and me both.
Yeah, and then also in Hollow Knight, you've got the regular bosses, and then after you defeat the regular bosses, you can go back optionally and beat them in their second, like, called Dream Form.
Oh.
Where they're like their regular boss selves on steroids. They're so much harder.
Ugh, that doesn't sound fun at all. And I find those bosses hard to begin with.
The smart person would level up before you went back to face them a second time, of course.
Wow, speaking of Hollow Knight, actually, I was out looking for the Kingdom Hearts story so far, and I was at Best Buy, and of course I couldn't find it. But I was at Best Buy, and I did find a big plushie of the protagonist of Hollow Knight.
Really?
I took a picture. I forgot to send it to you. I'll send it to you after the show. But yeah.
I want it.
Yeah, it was in the Nintendo section. It was like actually marketed by or published by Nintendo because it had like the Nintendo Switch logo on it and everything. So
yeah.
Interesting.
And I think it comes with a digital download code for the game.
Yeah. So
I would be interested to see the contract behind that.
Yeah, right?
Whether Nintendo is just swooping in and taking Team Cherry's intellectual property as their own for marketing purposes now that the game is doing well, or how much of that sale is Team Cherry getting?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe that's the consolation of not getting a physical copy. I don't know.
Maybe is that you get to be another one of Nintendo's many properties.
Plushie, yeah, exactly. For myself, besides Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson, I hated fighting Mike Tyson so much. I just, he was so annoying.
Did you ever beat him?
Yeah.
You did? Nice.
Yeah.
I beat him once as a TKO.
Oh, really?
Not a TKO. I'm sorry, not a TKO. Decision.
Oh, decision?
Yeah.
I think now if I were to play it, I don't think I can. But when we were kids, I don't know, like my skill deteriorated or something. But
modern games make us lazy.
They do. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was able to beat them. But now I don't think I can. Even Super Castlevania, which I loved as a kid, and like I'm going back and playing it, I'm like, how did I ever beat this game? But the other boss that I just played and I beat, Mages Mystralia. I don't ever want to take that boss on ever again. Like that boss fight was so hard. Yeah, like so I'll just go into a little bit. So when you fight this boss, you have to put these puzzles together, like these like little like ruins. You have to put Mike used to me playing Mage in Mystralia.
Yep.
Like those pictures you have to put together. We have to like line up the little dots so that they all connect and make a picture. You have to do that in between each like you get him down to so much health at 25, like you take off 25% of his health, and then you have to put this puzzle together, and you have to do it in 20 seconds. And if you don't, he gets his health back, and then you have to keep fighting him. It's so annoying. Yeah. So hard. But I did it. The last one, I had 1 second left, and I was just like, oh my gosh. It was
That's a
so
lot of pressure.
nerve-wracking. It was a lot of pressure, especially the first time it popped up. I didn't realize that was going to happen, and I was like, what is this? Oh God. But when I beat it, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to fight that guy ever again. Like, that was really hard. So yeah, so that's probably like my modern one that I just hate fighting that boss, but it was well done. I mean, it was clever, but it was just so hard. But Mike Tyson in that the boss from Mage in Australia are my two top ranked baddies I don't like fighting. So listeners, what are some bad guys or baddies that you don't like fighting? You can let us know. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can go on Facebook at facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast. You can go to gamerheadspodcast.com and leave us a message there, or you can also send an email at info@gamerheadspodcast.com. All right, so let's go into the news here. So I have a couple items here. This first one actually made me laugh. Blue, do you want to take this first one?
Sure. This comes from Forbes. EA is reportedly releasing a Titan-free Titanfall Battle Royale game, Apex Legends, on Monday. While it's set in the Titan universe, it may not actually include any Titans, but instead will feature a class-based Battle Royale system with quads of 3.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Like, I don't know, like EA is coming up with a Battle Royale game as well.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody wants to get in on Fortnite.
Yep. So, like, and the weird part is that they're not going to even have the Titanfall, or the Titans in it. Like,
I didn't even know Titanfall was this popular to warrant a spin-off game.
Yeah,
maybe it was just the most convenient property they had.
Yeah,
for making
and probably
one.
the easiest. Yeah.
So you take Titanfall, take out the Titans, and it's like Fortnite.
It is.
And EA is drooling over the amount of microtransactions that happen in Fortnite.
Yep.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna stop anytime soon, people. So buckle up.
Yep. Mike, do you want to take the next one there?
Sure, and this comes from Nintendo Life as well as the Wall Street Journal. Nintendo has an unannounced game coming out for the next fiscal year, which ends in April. From the Wall Street article, Nintendo said they are preparing at least one unannounced title for the Switch in the fiscal year 2019, which starts in April, goes onward, and that fans would be delighted to know it. Now, let's not get... I try as a Nintendo fan.
Animal Crossing.
Well, yeah, no, that's.
Let the speculation begin.
Yeah, as a Nintendo fan, when I first heard about this, my mind was all over the place. But whenever they mention things like this, the problem with us as Nintendo fans is we always get ourselves overhyped, and then no matter what the announcement is, it's not as good as what we were wanting it to be, even though we don't know what we want it to be.
We know what we want it to be.
So I don't know. I'm let's not get too freaked out, people, because it's probably going to be like a new Nintendogs or
no. Fans will be delighted to know, Mike.
That's corporate speak, man.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything.
There's talks also that the game's going to be online capable. So I don't know. I think it might be Animal Crossing, maybe. No, they announced that, didn't they?
Yeah, that's coming out this year, hopefully.
It's going to be Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be It's going to be Mario Kart 9.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
realized their folly of doing, what is it, Mario Kart World Tour or whatever, as a mobile game. They have realized their folly and are making Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, maybe. I
It's
don't know.
odd that they just have one unannounced game, though.
Yeah, right?
There's got to be a lot more in the pipeline because, I mean, what have they got that's coming out in 2019? Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, Pokemon,
Luigi's Mansion.
Luigi's
Yep.
Mansion, and then we don't know if this next one is good. This unannounced game is going to come out this year. So that's 4 games. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
they're just teasing us because it was a slow news day or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think it. I feel like it's kind of tied to the last article that we have here, but I'll read the next one first. This is from Nintendo Life as well. More than 8 million accounts are subscribed to Nintendo Switch Online, and this does not include trial accounts. So that's a lot of people that have subscribed.
What's $20 times 8 million?
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
120 or 160.
Well,
but not all of them are bought the $20. The family
Right.
accounts, because I've got like 6 people on my family accounts.
right. I was just gonna say, like, so if the family, like, that's 35, but like, I don't know what the limit is. Do you know what the limit is, Mike, for that?
For the family account, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
8.
Is it 8? Okay. So I mean, but still, that's a crap ton of money, really.
Mhm.
And I think there was something where the attachment rate of Mario Kart 8 to US gamers was really high as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, those that are playing Mario Kart 8 probably want to play online against people too. So
And it's a good thing that Nintendo's getting this much money on their online service because whenever I play Smash online, there's no slowdown whatsoever. So that money is going to great use.
well, that was dripping with sarcasm.
Yeah, I was laying it on pretty thick.
I know I haven't played the Smash Online because, 1, because I'm not good, but 2, because of the lag. But really because I'm not good. So
See, now you can go on there and blame the lag for the fact that you're not good.
Yep.
It's not me, it's the
It's
lag.
the lag.
yeah, that's right.
As
I'm
you
good
as you
at
flip
this
a
game.
table.
Yeah, exactly. And then smash my Switch. I'm like, no. Blue, do you want to take this last one?
Yeah, this is from Nintendo Life. Nintendo sees stock fall by 9% after cutting its 20 million Switch sales target. The revised target was put in place based on sales status for the 9 months ended December 31st, 2018, as well as the company's future outlook, with the gaming giant now forecasting 17 million Switch hardware sales in the financial year ending March 2019. And this is instead of the original 20 million target. This news has caused a 9.19% drop today, according to Bloomberg's latest data.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So, like, I saw the fact that they were lowering their target sales to 17 million, which is still a ton of games, right? Or systems, I mean, to be sold. But the fact that it almost dropped, like, 9% of their stock, like,
I know,
I don't
over,
know.
what is that, a 1.5% reduction?
Yeah, right? That seems ridiculous. And I mean, isn't that better for a company to, like, reassess where they're at and say, hey, we had the target of 20 million, but we're not going to reach that. We're going to hit 17 instead. Let's forecast 17 instead.
Mhm.
I think I'd rather have that than saying, oh, we're going to go for 20 million. Oh, we can't do it. We'll keep.
I think I'd
Keep
rather just
harder.
have the fact that you're selling millions
Well, yeah.
and be
No,
happy at that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'll be the first to admit, and my knowledge of business practices is not as deep as I would like that to be. But at this point, Nintendo, the Switch is on track to. I mean, it's sold more than the PlayStation 4 did in its first year. It's on track with the Wii,
Yeah.
which was, as we remember, was just the hype, and that thing was sold out for almost an entire year.
Yeah. I know it's
So-
weird because think about this. Like, this is the weird part about it. Like, the Wii sold out like crazy, right? And Nintendo, like, when a Switch came out, like, that was hard to find, like, right away. And it was like, oh, look at Nintendo, they're screwing up again. And now Nintendo is trying to, like, make more consoles available to people. And like analysts, and they're scaling back, and I think that's fine. But analysts are like, "Oh man, Nintendo's in trouble now." Like, it's,
Doomed.
Yeah, it's like everybody's anticipating Nintendo to fall,
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they want to just jump off the Nintendo train at the slightest little hint that it's happening.
yeah.
And that's so odd that that's the only company that does that. Am I wrong on that, or is that the only out of the three? That's the only one that happens to. Either they're doing well in people's eyes, or they're completely failing and going out of business.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
I don't know. Maybe Nintendo's one that people are able to be more neutral about, as opposed to the Sony and Microsoft wars.
Really? I feel it's opposite. I feel more people are either you really, really love Nintendo or really, really hate Nintendo. Like, I feel like Sony, like, people are just like, oh, Sony, whatever. And Xbox, I feel like there are people that hate Xbox, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of, like, I feel like Nintendo's like the John Cena of the game consoles.
Okay.
I'm laughing because that's actually not that's not a bad comparison, Roger. That's actually pretty good.
John Cena's either loved by everybody or hated by everybody. Like, but he's always there. Like, he's always like, people want to see him, whether you hate him or don't.
Yep.
Like, it's weird. So, but that's all I have for news. Do either of you have any other items for the news?
Not me.
No, not here either.
All right, so then let's move on to our listener feedback. And listeners, if you want to give us feedback, you're always welcome to. You can send us a tweet. You can send us a tweet at GamerheadsPC. You can send us an email, and our email address is info@GamerheadsPodcast, or you can go on Facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast and leave us messages there. Or you can go to our website, which is GamerheadsPodcast.com, and also leave us messages there as well. But this last week, we asked if game reviews are propaganda for games. Specifically, does a big gap between critic and player scores mean game reviews are untrustworthy? And this is what you all had to say. Blue, do you want to take the first one?
Sure. This comes to us from C-Nerd Media, and they tweeted, I've never had a high opinion of critics, games, or otherwise, but they're just players like you and me whose opinions are supposed to matter for some reason. No thanks. I was like, ouch.
I know.
Yep.
I think your response to that was like, I have a game review coming out.
I know. I was like, I just put a game review out earlier this week. It's fine, though. You don't have to read it.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Mike, do you want to read the next one?
Sure. At PlayJackSayback tweeted, when a critic score is lower than a player score, I just figure that they're picky because they are kind of doing their job. And when a critic score is higher than a player score, I don't trust it because someone isn't a real critic and has probably been paid off to give a good review. Which we have seen instances of that. There's been
of reviewers getting paid off.
Well, like when we talked about last time, when we talked about with relationships. So I'm not necessarily saying being paid off, but if they don't give it a good review, then they cut off all ties and they lose their business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, the bottom line is, if you're a reviewer, you can't win.
Yep.
Funny. The next one comes from the DCD, and they tweeted, "Gonna say no, mainly because player scores are often manipulated by trolls. Just saying." Yeah, and I mean, I think you can certainly find examples of that. Like I mentioned last week episode where, this one person gave all 10s to the games he really liked and all 0s to games that he thought were lame.
Yep.
Yeah, I think personally, I feel like you get more of that from the player scores than the critic scores, though. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, typically, outside maybe a few cases, I feel like critic scores are pretty, like, at least within a couple points of each other. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
They usually are, but then you get some of those critic reviews that make headlines because everybody else is saying this game is awesome, but this is the
Yeah.
one person that says, "Oh no, this game sucks.
Yeah.
I'm different. Pay attention to me."
I hate this thing that's popular because I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the cool kid. Blue, do you want to take the next one?
Sure, this is from producer BTW, and they tweeted, I tend to stay away from user scores. Sometimes they have people just giving bad reviews for the hell of it, kind of like comments on YouTube. I stay with the critics' reviews and then just try it myself.
Interesting.
And it is really interesting because you seem to have responses that are kind of like going back and forth. Like, you can only trust the users. You can only trust the critics. You can only trust the users.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
It is interesting. Mike, do you want to take the next one here?
Sure. This comes from @SethTrav, and they tweeted, I feel like a lot of critics' scores are swayed by whoever's paying their bills. And I feel like a lot of user scores are brought down just for insane expectations that aren't met. For example, the Disgaea remake, I got they didn't change the gameplay to add stuff from the new ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going back to what we said earlier about, you've got, big companies that are sending you all these games and giving you all this early access, and some people will feel obligated to give them a better score than they normally would, just in order to maintain that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Christian brought this up last week, and I think this is a good point. I think the bigger studios, the bigger reviewers, like, probably don't have that big of a problem, right? Because even if they give them a bad score, like, it's publicity, right? Like, it's gonna give them publicity. Like, I think it's the medium to smaller ones, like, that feel like they have to, but I'm not even sure if that's the case, because sometimes I feel like even this.
I don't know what do you have to lose, really?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think well, because I feel like that's where you start crossing the line of where people feel like they have to have their personality in their reviews, like it become like personified almost. Where, like, I mean, we've talked about it last week, where you have some reviewers like the angry game nerd, right? Isn't that his name?
Yeah, angry video game nerd.
Yeah, like, I feel like, that's his shtick, right? That he gets mad and angry and stuff like that, and I feel like that's where you start getting into where, like, people like that, and but it becomes more about them than the game, the review itself. I don't know. It's a weird line that's crossed sometimes, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's all I had on that.
Wow, so. Roger had a mic drop moment where none of us had anything else to say.
Well, not anything different to say than what we said last week.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have that episode again. Episode 73. All right, so the last one I have here is from Tuscan Gordon 1, and they tweeted, I'm skeptical of critic reviews and side with user reviews. I think a lot of positive critic reviews are bought by publishers. The reviewers don't finish the game because they're under pressure to get the content out, or they don't play the game, play the genre of the game they're reviewing. I see the point that they have here, but I'm not sure if that's always necessarily the case. Like, I feel like a lot of times you'll see reviewers that are like, this is my genre, and this is the game I can play. Like, I think of Kingdom Hearts 3 in Game Informer. I'm just going to go off Game Informer because that's the one that I'm thinking off the top of my head. But, like, Kim Wallace was the one that reviewed Kingdom Hearts 3, and, like, that's, like, she loves, like, that's her jam, if you will. Like, that's, she's a huge fan of Kingdom Hearts 3.
It's a double-edged sword, because let's say you're playing a first-person shooter and you freaking love first-person shooters, is the only thing you play. You're going to give it a different review than somebody who is more neutral about the genre.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, if you're a fan of the series or a fan of the genre, like, you're gonna look at it differently. So yeah, I think that it is a double-edged sword, because, like, yeah, you also could say, well, to give it to somebody that doesn't play that genre, then they might be like, I don't get this game, I don't understand it, and I don't like it, so I'm gonna score it, poorly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think either are wrong. And definitely part of the reason that I like to review games is that I often get opportunities for titles that are stuff that I would never ever have played on my own.
Yeah.
Without somebody asking me for a review. And does that mean my reviews are invalid? I mean, you can say that if you want to, but it doesn't mean I'm going to stop.
Yeah. No,
It doesn't mean I'm going to stay in my lane of the one type of game that I like.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, that's, this is why I asked you to be part of a Gamerheads Blue, is because I think you come from a perspective of, pure gamer, and like it's about the game and not just you. You know what I mean? Like the same with you, Mike, too. Like your reviews, like it's not about like, oh, like this is all about me. Like that's what I liked about the fact that the reviews that you guys give is the fact that you're coming from, like, not from you as a reviewer, but like this is the game and this is how it is, right? And like that's, to me, I think that's what's great about both of your reviews. So I appreciate.
That's quite a compliment. Yeah. He called us pure gamers.
Me, on the other hand, though, I'm a dirty gamer. Just kidding. I don't know what that means, actually. No, but I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I think that both of you, just approach games from like the joy of games, and that's what I enjoy about reading your reviews.
If you don't like playing games, why are you even doing this?
Right.
I wonder that, though, some people that do review games, though, if they really enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you get the same, I think, feeling from people who spend their whole lives reviewing movies.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's the nature of looking at something with a critical eye, and if you don't watch yourself, the negative aspects of it can grow and kind of overshadow the reasons why you wanted to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
There was a guy on my local news channel that I used to watch every Sunday because he would do movie reviews every Sunday during the news. And this guy was really, like, he was probably like 2 days away from retirement.
This is going to be a good story.
He hated everything. I watched like almost for a year straight before he finally left. There was not a single movie that I remember seeing him reviewing that was good. Wow. And I was just like, wow, this guy is just so jaded. I guess that kind of inspired me when I do my reviews, because like the first thing I look at is I say, okay, is this game like, is it playable? Yeah. I mean, you can have the most amazing graphics and the most amazing story, but if the game plays like garbage, it's not worth playing. But I don't know. That's getting into a whole different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's.
We'll do that as another hot topic sometime.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, speaking of game reviews, we actually have a couple of game reviews. So, Mike, do you want to start us off? You have been playing Battle Princess Madelyn.
I have been playing Battle Princess Madelyn.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. All right. So now that you hyped me up as this amazing reviewer, I have no place else to go but down. So, Battle Princess Madelyn, I've been playing it on the Switch, and it's a Kickstarter game, and like so many Kickstarter games that got a lot of attention and hit that goal and hit those stretch goals, it's an homage to another retro game. So it's a retro game in the style of another retro game, like we've seen with so many other types of games. Like, okay, I'm not going to put it in the same bucket as my number 9, but and the upcoming Bloodstained game, things like that. So this game, Battle Princess Madelyn is an homage to Capcom classically difficult game Ghouls and Ghosts. So in this game, you play as the lead character Madelyn, whose family is kidnapped by evil spirits, and her poor little puppy is unfortunately killed by the same spirits. So
what?
Yeah, it's
this
a really
is the John Wick of video games.
Yes, it is. It's John Wick Cross Army of Darkness. So, so you take control of Madelyn as she tries to rescue her family from these evil monsters, and the game plays exactly like Ghouls and Ghosts. If you ever played Super Ghouls and Ghosts, not like Ghosts and Goblins for the NES, which has traumatized me for life, but
Well, Super Ghouls and Ghosts was not easy either, Mike.
that's true. But at least for the Sega Genesis version, they had a code where you were invincible and enemies passed through you, so I was able to beat that game.
Okay.
Hey, as long as getting the results right. So so
this is how you review games now. You just cheat your way through that.
That's right. Yep, absolutely.
No. It's a microtransaction.
Oh,
that's right.
That's right.
I got my Game Genie on retainer. So, so the game plays, like I said, exactly like Ghouls and Ghosts. Go from left to right. You have different weapons that you throw. It's either a spear or dagger, or there's almost like holy water from Castlevania. And you're fighting various enemies, zombies, bats, giant killer plants, things like that. And there's boss battles with patterns that you have to learn. One of the things I loved seeing when I was fighting some of the bosses, it does that classic thing that we all love when you're about to beat a boss, where it flashes.
Oh, when it flashes, yeah.
Slowly flashing red, and then
then it keeps flashing faster and faster.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Even the music is really good. It sounds like a Sega Genesis game,
Hmm.
and I go back and forth between my favorite systems between the SNES and the Genesis, but I'll have to say I really am enjoying Sega Genesis music more now that I'm like listening to different games and things like that. So I really enjoyed the music in this game. Some of the good things about the game is one of the things that I really liked is that there's two modes in the game. There's story mode, which introduces you, has some really nice cutscenes, and it's more like a Metroidvania type game, where you go to all these different areas and you can go anywhere pretty much on the map, and you can get to different spots after unlocking certain things like double jump and other weapons, things like that. So that's the one mode. The other mode is arcade mode, which plays just like Ghouls and Ghosts, where you're going left to right, and at the end there's a boss, and then once you beat that boss, you move on to the next one. With the arcade mode, the map is a little bit bigger. If I were to compare it to something, it'd be like Sonic the Hedgehog, where it's not you're on a flat plane just going straight. There's areas that are higher, hidden areas that are lower. So you can find some hidden power-ups, weapons, things like that.
Interesting.
One of the other things I really liked about this game, and this is what I talked about earlier, is the controls are spot on. So if you make a mistake, it's your fault. For the most part, and I'll get to that part in a minute. But it plays exactly like a Ghouls and Ghosts game. It almost feels like they took the code and just swapped out the sprites. But so in that point, it is a good game, and it works, and it's definitely it scratches that nostalgia itch if you have for that kind of game. Now the game itself is not perfect though. There are a few things that I was not a big fan of, and so some of those were, I guess, in the efforts of making the game as old school as possible, it kind of carried over the old school unfair things.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so for example,
like 3 lives. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's lives. No, there's lives in the game. That's true. Yeah. One of the things is unfair deaths. Like for example, if you get hit by a zombie or a bat or something, it knocks you back, and if it knocks you back far enough, you're falling into water and you die. Or there's some
your character can't swim?
No.
Oh.
So, and there's also some areas where, like I said, because the map is larger, that you don't know. You have to basically, you get to the edge of a cliff or something, and you don't know if you need to make a leap of faith or if you just need to drop down. You just have to just cross your fingers and go for it. And a lot of times when I've done that, I see the water incident where I miss all the platforms, fall, and right into the water and die.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair at all.
Yeah,
No, but
but
it's very old school in that
that is
you have to earn your way to memorize the game through your deaths.
Yeah.
And so, and to that point, especially with the story mode, there's really no direction, so it's kind of hard to find your way. Sometimes there's like an arrow that will point you towards a door or an item of interest. There was one point where it was pointing to an item of interest, but I didn't have the correct upgrade, so I wasn't able to get it yet. So I'm like, why are you telling me about this? So the only other issue that I had is the game felt like it didn't have that extra polish on it. And when
really?
well, like I said, the game works. You know, it's not like it's an incomplete game, but when I play it, and when my character dies, it just like the screen just like stays still for a minute, and then it just turns black, and then it goes back. It's like there's not that extra, I guess, like I said, that polish that adds to it that kind of brings closure to it. Does that make sense?
He's
Not
missing
really.
the closure over his death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it just like cuts like this, like your character dies and the screen just cuts away. It's like there's no like, I don't know. It didn't feel like it was finished 100% on those parts. But I will say the game itself is finished, and it's not a bad game. It works. It plays. If you like Ghouls and Ghosts like I do, you'll enjoy the game, and I did enjoy the game. So, but there were just some of those issues that took it from being a good game and stopped it from being a great game. So I think if they probably maybe had a few more months to polish it up, they could have really pushed out a really, really good game. But at this point, it's definitely it's a good game. It's worth picking up if you like those old school games. But if you're newer to gaming and you get easily frustrated by things like jumping into a pit for no reason, then you might want to steer away from it. But
Yeah.
So if I were to give it a grade, I'd probably go C plus B minus.
Okay. And you played that on the Switch, right?
I did. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's a really good story behind the Kickstarter and everything too. I mean, you should look it up because it's the guy he worked on it with his daughter. You know, she's his real daughter is the main character in the game. It's you can tell that a lot of love was put into this game. So
yeah,
if you like Ghouls and Ghosts, check it out.
Okay, cool.
If you like games where the dog dies,
yeah.
check it out.
But the dog comes back as a spirit, and and hangs out with Madelyn, so it's not really dead.
Maybe in real life her dog died or something. I don't know.
Well, that's sad. But this is a depressing show.
Sad.
Yeah, this is a depressing episode.
Well, that just means that we're right where we need to be.
Yeah, exactly. Par for the course.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the review of Battle Princess Madelyn. I got to play the game Mages of Mystralia, or Mystralia. I'm not sure, but I'm going to call it. I might go back and forth with it, but so in the game, you play interesting because you play a young girl. Like both of these games have female protagonists, which is awesome. So you play a young girl who's blessed or cursed with the gift of magic in a world where mages are actually being hunted down, and she learns about her powers, and she accidentally burns down her village. And she's kicked out of her village. She's told to never come back. And she finds this guy in the woods who becomes her mentor, who teaches her how to use magic, and sends her on quest. And as you play, you learn more about what's going on in the world and the sinister plots that are going on. And then it's up to you to basically save the day. We just learned about magic, right? So yeah, you play a little girl named Zaya, who is that's the basis of Mages of Mystralia. So the first thing that I'll say that stands out about this game is the fact that the artwork is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it looks hand drawn. It looks a lot like, it reminds me a lot of like Wind Waker in that kind of style. I mean, Wind Waker is probably a little bit more I don't want to say, like, it has a little bit of a different style, but it's very similar to Wind Waker. And the game, actually, I think that's one of the things that I liked about it too, is that there's like this familiar sense or familiar feel to the game. Like it plays a lot like Zelda or a lot like Diablo, because sometimes it's top down, sometimes it's side scrolling, but there's this familiar sense. You get this familiar air to the game. And one of the things that the main premise behind the game is spell crafting. So your character goes out and like solves puzzles, and when they do, they earn different runes that they can add to their book, and then they can combine these runes to create new spells. And that is probably like the strength of this game, and also the way that they use like the leveling up mechanics. So you don't like level up your character like earning XP, but you earn different ruins to make different spells. So I'll give you an example. Like one of the spells I created, I think, Mike, you were the one that gave me the name, right? Icy Hot, wasn't it?
Yep.
So I had the spell where I cast the spell, and it was the ability to throw like an ice bridge, and like I can also use it to attack enemies. So I'd throw it out there, but then also attached a fireball to it. So as I learned these different spells, I learned fireball too. So as I threw that, I would throw fireball with it. So I called it Icy Hot. It was it was kind of funny. And it's a cool fun thing about the spell cast or crafting too, is that you can name your own spells, which was always really kind of fun. But one of the things I really liked about or another spell I should say that I created was one that I called just like Rain of Fire, and I had a rune called Rain, and I attached movement to it, and I attached time to it, so it lasted longer, and I attached fire to it, and then it would just rain fire from the sky. It was awesome, and I could cast that, and it would cause rain coming down on the baddies and stuff like that.
So, does it give you a lot of freedom when you're creating your spells?
Does. Well, so you do have freedom in the aspect of like you can put different runes on it. The thing is that some of the runes, so the way it works, it's like a grid, and some of the runes only have certain like arrows on it, so you have to connect that arrow. You have to connect the arrows, and if you can't connect the arrows, then you can't use. Like you have to either figure out how to use that rune to connect it to the other runes with the arrows, or you have to just not use it. Like there are some runes I'm like, I don't know how it can connect this because it just doesn't have the arrows that would line up with the main piece in the middle. So like you'd have your main spell like ice in the middle, and then you can branch off of that. Like yeah, it's like branches of a tree. But if you don't have the arrow pointing in that certain direction, you can't really connect those branches, I guess. So there is a lot of freedom in the spell crafting, and there's so much. There's tons of ruins. I didn't even find them all. Like I beat the game, and I only found 50% of the items out there in the game because there's just so much that you can add to it. And I'm like surprised I even beat the boss with only having 50% of my magic. But
do you feel like you can go, like you want to go back to it and get everything?
I don't want to fight that boss again.
So no.
So yeah, I mean, there's certain things I do want to like kind of find. Like, oh, there's different wands too, so you can find different wands. And like, I had a fire wand that would give me extra fire ability, like when I shot like my fire spells. I had like an ice one that would do the same thing, that would give me a bit extra ability when I fought or used ice spells. And then I had one that was like if I was low on health, my damage would be more when I was low on health. And I got that wand by finding just I found a random goblin that I ran into, and he was talking to me. Now most goblins you're gonna fight against, but this one he started talking to me, and he's like, "Oh, I need your help," and I was like, "Okay." And he like led me to this cave, and then he ambushed me and attacked me.
That's a shocker.
I know,
well,
right?
It's your fault for trusting a goblin.
I know. I was like, what was I thinking? And then I beat him, and then I got this wand, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that's kind of neat. So there's just so much that I left unexplored because I just didn't realize that there was so much. And I put 20 hours into this game, so there's still a lot that I didn't explore in this game. Those are the things I really liked about the game. I will say, like you said, Mike, there are some aspects of the game that I thought weren't done as well. So while I found the story intriguing, I thought the story was really intriguing. The characters you meet along the way are quickly forgotten about, and they don't really seem to be part of the story or essential to the story. Like, for instance, your mentor, like you
Forget that guy.
yeah, exactly.
You don't need him.
I know, exactly. He sends me on my quest in the beginning, and then after a while, it's like, I don't know. I guess he just stopped giving me quests and stopped like teaching me. He taught me like 2 things, and that was it. There was another character too that I ran into that was a necromancer. So I guess in the story, it's a little it's there's so much background to the story that they kind of give you bits and pieces to it, but sometimes I wish they gave you more. So I guess the mages and necromancers were like at war with each other, and then I found a necromancer after beating a boss, and I was like, cool. He's like, I'll help you in your journey to beat the main bad guy. And like, great. And I never talked to him ever again. I was like, dude, why aren't you helping me? So I wish that there was more of like the interaction with the characters that you actually had. And then the other thing that I will say that this is probably my biggest gripe in the game. In between each like level, so there's different like worlds. I don't want to say worlds, but yeah, I guess worlds are different areas. Areas, I guess, is better word. So like I might be in the area called like High Cliffs, and like you go to the world map, and then High Cliffs connect with the castle, or I can go down to, or Highlands, I guess, not High Cliffs, or I can go down to the forest, or I can go to different places. And every time that you skipped or go to different zones, there's a loading screen, and it was a really long loading screen. And there are times, and that's why I said when you asked would I go back and do it again, the loading screens were so painful to me that I don't feel like I want to go back and explore some of those things because of the fact that I'm going to have to go through all these loading screens to get to each different place.
Yeah.
And at first it was okay because the loading screen is nice artwork and it has a little bit of the story like written underneath it. But then it was just like, I have to go through another loading screen to get to this area. Like, that was probably my biggest gripe, is just the fact that there were so many loading screens. But the boss battles were awesome. Like, really well done and pretty epic. And they felt epic. Like, even the last boss, like I said, I don't want to fight him again. But it was an epic battle. It was pretty fun. Yeah, so I mean, overall, it was I would say I would give it a B, overall score of a B, because I really enjoyed the game. Just that I don't think I would go back to it just because of the loading screen issues. So
B's pretty good.
You know what? And I'm gonna point this out here, and I don't want to, because I kind of feel like with my review, I kind of ended it on a bad note. I think a B and a C is not a bad review. I think
I agree.
We were at a point with a lot of people where they think if a game is not an A or a 10 or a 9, then it's utter garbage.
Yeah.
Which I think that mindset is utter garbage.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a C plus B score, like, yeah. I think not every game's going to get an A, right? Not every game should get a 10 either. So, like, I don't know. I think that, these are, honestly, I think this, like, if you like spellcrafting and you want to play a game that's, there's not enough female protagonists in games. And I feel like both of these games that we reviewed, like, are good examples where, you have strong, young female protagonists. And I love that. And I would like to see more of that. So. All right, that's our reviews. Let's go into what we are currently playing. And Blue, we'll start with you since Mike and I ship right eyes that whole time. What are you currently playing? Well, I already know what you're playing.
I'm playing Fortnite this week.
Oh, Fortnite.
No, just kidding. I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3. Everybody knows I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, and
it is really good, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody that's never played Kingdom Hearts, like, I don't know, me,
and
Mike, would I be able to pick up Kingdom Hearts 3 and understand what's going on, or would I have to play the other ones first?
I've been going through it. I'm about 30 hours into it right now. And I think that they've done a good job of balancing between explaining enough about what's going on for new people, but not absolutely bogging it down with exposition. I think they found a real good middle ground that makes sense within the context of the story. And so I think that if this is your first Kingdom Hearts, I think you really could just pick it up and go, and you're not going to completely understand everything, but I think you're going to understand enough, and you're going to have a really good time.
So what is your favorite world so far in the game?
Honestly, it'd probably be, and you guys aren't going to understand this, but it's going to be Twilight Town, which is just a little village that's made appearances in the other games, and some of the characters there. It's like revisiting old friends, and it was kind of like coming home again in a sense.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked it.
That's awesome.
But the worlds are great. Some are better than others. But it's really fun. It's good old school Kingdom Hearts where you're playing the main character Sora, and you've got Donald and Goofy by your side, and then you're just flying around to the different Disney worlds, like kind of like some kind of Doctor Who, and you go and you insert yourselves in the plots of all the things that are happening and make sure everything wraps up okay, and then you move on to the next world and solve their problems.
Is that similar? So again, somebody that's never played Kingdom Hearts before, is that similar? Is that similar to how the other Kingdom Hearts games were? I mean, was there like?
Yeah, it's kind of the thing.
Okay.
To go and visit the Disney worlds.
Doesn't that get boring?
Roger's comments are not those necessarily shared by myself. Just to throw that out there.
Hey, I'm gonna put on my nostalgia gloves here, and then we're gonna go at it. No, I think that it depends. I think some of the worlds are not as successful as others, if I'm being absolutely brutally honest. But I also think it depends on how in love you are with the particular story of the world.
Okay.
Like, for example, I went to the Toy Story world, and I basically couldn't stop smiling. I thought it was so fun to run around with Woody and Buzz and Rex and fight the bad guys in the little, everything is toy sized. But then I got to the Frozen world, and I was just like, I just want this to end. I hate this.
Oh, really?
Because I hate Frozen. And
I heard
also,
that they play Let It Go, right?
They do. Okay, so... Okay. So if you think about the history of every Disney property out there, think about how many iconic songs are in their portfolio. But you don't sing Disney songs in the games. You just don't. They're they'll kind of play as the background music of the worlds, but you don't sing the songs. And so then we get to Frozen, which is this overblown, overhyped movie from, I don't know, however many years ago it was. And we have to listen to the entire song of Let It Go. Really? That's what we're going to break the precedent for, is Let It Go?
So what you're saying is that's about the right time that you go make yourself a sandwich or something, right?
Actually, I did. It was by the time I was having so much fun. I was flying through these worlds, and I get to Frozen, I'm like, I want a break. I don't understand it. And I'm irritated that it gets all this special treatment in the game. But
you can't see it right now, but I'm standing up and slowly clapping.
So I mean, that's just it's a personal preference, and I don't think that I've probably just ruined any scrap of objectivity I could probably have with the audience, but I don't think that the world is designed as well as the others.
Now, I'm a fan of voice acting, and if I hear somebody else doing the voice for a character that I'm familiar with, my ears are very, very discerning when it comes to that. And I know obviously not everybody, they didn't get everybody back. How are some of the characters? Are they at least sound decent?
They tried real hard. We'll put it that way. They tried
Okay.
real hard. I think Donald and Goofy are the best, but also Donald and Goofy have had many voices over the years.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they come the closest. But yeah, when you go to Toy Story World, it's not Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, and you know it's not. And you go to the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's not Johnny Depp, and you know that. But I think, you know, it's a little bit, because the dialogue is super cheesy, and the voice acting is about as cheesy.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they always have been. And so should you fault them, the series, for something that it's always been really just kind of honest about?
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose it depends on what's your tolerance for that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
What new mechanics did they add to this game that weren't in the other games?
The combat it's really fun. It's just a really good, you know, button masher, and I have peeked a little bit at some reviews, and I see that, you know, people are grading it down as being repetitive combat. And I think that it can be as repetitive as you want it to be, because you've got spells you can map to your buttons that you can switch back and forth from. The main combat is with your keyblade, which is like your sword kind of thing. But also, with the characters that you're with Donald or Goofy, you can trigger certain special attacks. Or like with Woody and Buzz, you trigger a special attack with them, and then you hop on this rocket and you fly through the air, and you can...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think they added a lot of special attacks that can be triggered based on the world you're in, or also they have ones that are based on rides in the parks. Like, everybody's seen that sequence with the roller coaster where you're fighting the giant titan with the roller coaster. Did you guys see that?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, okay. So there's a roller coaster. You can have teacup attack, like the spinning teacup ride.
Oh, that's cool.
You can have like the pirate ship. You can bring out a giant pirate ship and like splash them with your water spell.
Oh, fun.
There's a lot of really cool things, and it's all very flashy and lots of lights. And it's a little bit like, you know, if you've ever been to the park and seen like the Main Street Electrical Parade that they used to do. So it's just a bunch of lights, and it's just meant to be fun and look cool. Does it need to be there? No, but it is there, and it's cool. That's
cool. So I know you haven't beaten it yet, but how does this compare to the other Kingdom Hearts? Would you say is this one of your favorite ones? Would you say that it doesn't, like, what is your favorite Kingdom Hearts? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, I think my favorite is the first one, because that's the one I fell in love with. Do I think it's the best one? No, it's not the best one. You know, it suffers from being a PlayStation 2 game in 2002.
Yeah.
I think this one has done a lot to improve upon that formula, but still stay really true to what the series has been about and its history. And so, yeah, if people are going to play Kingdom Hearts 3 and say, oh, it's repetitive and all you do is visit these worlds and you don't do anything, it's like, well, sorry, that's Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
There's been 9 games like this. And now you want to complain about it?
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a funny thing that makes me laugh. Is this is Kingdom Hearts 3 in a series of 9 other games? Like
yeah. And I'm going to grade it down for doing the same thing that the series has always done.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because you would piss off a lot of people if you did something completely off the wall different, for sure.
Yeah, and this one is really fun. It's got you visit Winnie the Pooh, and you can do like little matching games in the vegetable garden. You match groups of the same colored vegetables, and that's how you pick them. Or you go to a bistro, and you can work with Ratatouille in the kitchen.
Oh, cool!
And do little cooking mini games. So there's lots to do. There's the gummy ship that they use to fly between the worlds. And so you can fly around the whole freaking universe in your gummy ship as much as you want to, and like do space battles with bad guys out there.
Wait, what's a gummy ship?
That's just what they call it. It's just a little
Oh, okay.
spaceship, and it's made out of gummy blocks. And so, if you
Oh.
want to, you can buy blueprints and individual gummy block parts, and you can make your own ships.
Oh. You got me all excited. I thought they incorporated gummy bears.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, well, this is interesting. Are they, throwing a bunch of other stuff in there too?
Gummy bears jumping down and hear it everywhere. We are the gummy bears. Do you guys remember that cartoon?
I do. I'm so impressed you can sing the theme song. That's amazing.
So people will say it's a curse, actually. That I sing theme songs to old cartoons.
They just don't know what's important in life.
Now do Mr. Belvedere.
Oh crap! How does Mr. I mean, they had Bob Uecker in that show. Remember that? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Anyway.
So if the game has one flaw, and unfortunately it's one that's really getting under my skin, it's so when you are trying to do something, the characters say what I think the game developers must have thought would be very helpful things.
Oh.
Like at one point in the Frozen world, Olaf falls apart and you have to go around and search for his the 3 balls that make up his snowman body.
Yeah.
And it's like every 10 seconds, Donald or Goofy will be like, we gotta help Olaf. Or, where do you think Olaf is? Or Olaf will be somewhere and be like, okay, I'm ready to be found now. And it's literally like every 10 to 15 seconds. And I'm just like, shut up.
It's Kingdom Hearts' version of Hey Listen.
Yes, kind of. And like at one point, you go to the Tangled world, and it turned out to be a side thing. I didn't actually have to do it, but Rapunzel sees these birds, and she wants you to go get them and bring them to her. But the thing is that you have to move like so slowly, like at the pace of death. But every 10 seconds, it would be like Rapunzel would be like, hey, Sora, look over there. Or like Flynn Rider would be like, Rapunzel's trying to tell you something. It's like, I know. It's taking me this long, not because I don't understand what you want. It's just because it's really, really hard. But like they keep, and like Donald or Goofy would be like, hey, now what about over there? Did you look over there? And it's like, God, it's so confusing to me because who did you think the game was for? It's like, this is like what you'd expect in like a game for 3-year-olds who forgot what they were doing from 30 seconds ago. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hey,
Blue, we're doing a podcast. Heel.
Yes, exactly. Now do that every 10 seconds so I don't forget what I'm supposed to be doing.
Hey, Blue, you want to give a review? Heel.
So, yeah, it's just, it is making me like literally insane. And I keep muting the game so that I can focus on what I'm supposed to be doing. And that shouldn't happen.
That's too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. Especially since, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I think, like, a lot of the interaction with the characters and stuff like that, I think would have been the most fun, or the thing that I'm actually looking forward to of playing Kingdom Hearts games, and that's too bad that you feel like it's overdone. And it seems like it's almost, like, geared towards, like, mobile gamers or kids that play mobile games, like, hey, do you remember what we're doing? We're going to find Olaf. Like, no kidding.
Exactly. It's like, I did not forget. I just can't bloody find him because he's a piece of snow in a giant snowfield. And like, if I tried to leave the area during that, and they're like, you can't leave, we got to help Olaf. And I was like, Olaf can die in a fire. I don't care. Anyway.
But that sounds minor, right? I mean,
it is minor, except for the fact that it happens a lot.
And it happens in every world.
And it happens in every world where they kind of have these like little side missions. Sometimes they're required, like with Olaf, and sometimes they're not with the birds. But they are in every world. Or like in the Caribbean, in the Pirates of the Caribbean, you're fighting this. It's like this giant kind of dragon, heartless thing that's attacking the Black Pearl ship. And so you're supposed to hop on a lesser enemy and fly yourself up to the dragon so you can fight him. But if you get hit, there's no way to heal yourself up there. You have to return to the ship.
Oh.
And as soon as you get back to the ship, Goofy says, "Hey, they're still attacking the ship." It's like, I know. I just
Goofy,
needed a...
I almost died.
Yeah,
I
why don't
know.
you get off your butt and help, Goofy?
I'm on the brink of death. Give me a minute, and I'll go back. It's like every time, oh, they're still attacking the ship.
Really? Thanks, Goofy. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
There's fireballs raining down all around us. I wondered what was causing those.
Hey, Blue, there's still a dragon out there. Hill.
Yep. So it is a minor thing, but it's like the more it goes on, the more just unnecessary it feels.
Oh, that's... well, I mean, it sounds like you're... outside of that, you're enjoying your time with it, so that's good.
No, I do. I really love it. It's really fun. It's just about, everything that I would hoped it would be. So, just about.
Just about. Anything else? I know that that probably took up a lot of your time.
Yeah, no, that was all.
That was it. Yeah, Christian was all concerned. Well, no, I shouldn't say all concerned, but he was like, "Oh, Blue took off the whole week. She's gonna beat the game before me. I gotta go beat it."
No, seriously, he must just not sleep because, I played 30 hours in 3.5 days, and I thought I was doing really well.
Well, I asked him. I said, "Do you go home from work and just play until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, straight through?" And he said, "Well, I mean, I do play at night, but he gets up super early, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, and play." So I'm like, "Holy crap, that's super early." I am sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, but if it came out on Tuesday, and you said he had 35 hours by Thursday.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing the math and assuming he's also working 8 hours.
Yes.
How does he sleep?
I don't. I'll ask him that. Well, I'm
He
sure he'll
must
listen
not.
to this. Or he doesn't. He doesn't sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about you, Mike? What have you been playing?
So I'm gonna make this pretty quick. I haven't played a whole lot this week.
What? Just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding.
I started playing Smash a little bit last night because there's the Mega Man Spirit event going on right now, and I want to collect as many Mega Man characters as I can.
Yeah, and the Piranha Plant came out too.
That's right, Piranha Plant came out. But so I did that, and then I brought Octopath Traveler back out.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got back. I seriously only played it for about half an hour, just to get to the next town, and then I saved it. So I'm waiting until the next town, and then I played a half hour of Celeste. I started playing that.
Yeah, I saw that you were playing that. So
yeah.
Was that your first time playing through that game, or have you played that before? Okay.
No, it's my first time playing. So
it's hard, isn't it?
It's tough, but I love it because the last time that I had this much fun playing a game similar to that was N+.
Okay.
And it's just the controls are perfect, and the you have to have split second reflexes, and of course the soundtrack is amazing. So I'm loving that right now.
Nice.
So that's what I played. So nice. I played a few games, just very short bursts.
Nice. For myself, I beat Mages of Mystralia, so I spent a lot of time. Like I said, I had over 20 hours in that game, and I beat that Thursday night, I think. So then after that, I picked up, or I guess I didn't pick up. I'm reviewing Earhart, Tales of Broken Wings, and so I've been playing that a little bit, and that's an interesting game. So I'll talk more about that. I only played a little bit at that this morning during our Saturday morning serial recording. So I played that, and I did try to play in the Street Fighter 2 competition going on for Retro Game Brews. I'm going to tell you, I am really bad at that game. Really bad at that game. So the part of that is that you have to have the difficulty at level 5. And I can't even make it past... Well, I made it past the first fighter once in level 5. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. So I actually messaged him today. I'm like, I'm really bad at this game.
That's one of those ones where you just have to memorize a bunch
Yeah.
of button combinations, right?
Yes, yes. And when here's a funny thing. When I was a kid, I should say when I was in high school. I guess that's a kid, right? So when I was in high school, I don't know if I told this story or not, but we went to Great America in was it Gurney? Is that right, Mike?
Yep, Gurney.
And there must be like a naval base nearby, right, Mike?
Great Lakes Naval Base.
Yeah. So, so they had, I don't know if I haven't been to Great America in like years, but they would have arcades there, like huge arcades.
Yep.
And they had Street Fighter, and I think it was the second one. They had Street Fighter there, and I was playing it, and I popped a quarter in, and somebody put their quarter down. They wanted to play me next, and I'm like, okay. And I took, what is his name? Baraka? Is that his name?
You mean Blanca?
Oh, Blanca. Baraka.
You're thinking of a former president.
Yeah, Barack Obama. No, I took Blanca, and the guy spent like, I don't know, like $2.50 to $3 trying to beat me in the game. And at one point, he took his hat off and threw it down. And at that point, I was like, uh-oh. Like, I'm in big trouble. Oh, it was a sailor, by the way. I should have mentioned that. It was a sailor. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm in big trouble. Like, I better let him win. And then, so the next match, he beat me. And then he was, like, all excited and happy. And I was like, oh, congrats. But, like, I didn't play it as hard.
Yeah.
And so then I was thinking, oh, man, I must be really good at this game. And I'm not. I'm not at all.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've learned about this competition is it will humble you.
Yes, yes.
Oh, like without a doubt.
Yeah. Like it's one of those things that everybody says they used to be really good at Tetris.
Yeah.
Until you play Tetris.
Yeah.
In the competition, you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I worked
with really good people.
Yeah, when they did Tetris for the contest last time, like I worked my brains out for days, and I think I managed 5th.
Really?
Really.
That's really good, though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was like based on the people who could manage certain techniques, I guess, there was this big divide between people who could get over 100,000 and people who couldn't.
Oh.
And there was like this big gap, so I was like at the bottom of the people who could get over 100,000.
Yeah. So those are the games I've been playing, and I did play a little bit of Smash too, just with the Piranha Plant. Have you played with the Piranha Plant at all, Mike? I just did one round.
Yeah. Didn't put a whole lot of time in there. Actually, Genesis is going on this weekend, so I'm gonna be watching that a lot too. It's a big fighting game tournament in I think it's in Oakland, California right now.
Okay. I was like, the band?
That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, they're back together? What the heck?
Actually, I think no. Phil Collins was just touring on his own. I don't know. I mean, my mind is going into crazy places right now. Yeah, so it's just if you go to like Twitch.tv, I think it's like VG Boot Camp or something like that.
Okay.
All weekend, it's the fighting game tournament, and there's so much fun to watch.
Fun. So yeah, those are the games I've been playing. So all right, what we'll do next then, we're gonna take a break, and then when we come back, we'll get into our hot topic, and it's Microtransactions Revisited, and we'll have David Mason from Hailstorm Games on with us. So stay tuned. And welcome back to Gamerheads. This week, we have a very special guest joining us for our hot topic. We have David Mason joining us. He is from Hailstorm Games, the sound guy from Hailstorm Games. Welcome, David, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, David, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm the audio lead at Hailstorm Games, so all the sound has to go through me, be it hiring musicians or contracting work or just doing it myself. And we released Claire for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Vita, and currently working on our next game.
Nice. So now I feel like added pressure that the sound quality has to be better on this podcast.
No.
We'll be fine. We're professionals, remember?
Well, thanks, David, for joining us. So we wanted to talk about microtransactions. We actually have a few additional questions, uh, and you and I talked, David, offline, and said, "Hey, I'd love to talk about microtransactions and go in depth with that." So we have a couple questions that we'll review here. So I'm calling this topic "Microtransactions Revisited." So one of the first question that I have that we can discuss. Or what are some good reasons on why a studio would want to add microtransactions into a game? So, David, being a insider, if you will, what are some good reasons why a studio may want to add microtransactions into a game?
Well, aside from profit, which is an obvious thing, there's usually three main reasons, and that's retention, to keep you interested in playing. So retention rates are a big thing because the game industry kind of believes that if you don't hold on to your game and you sell it, then that's a lost sale for them. So if they can keep you playing and keep you engaged, then that's a good thing for them. And it obviously, if you are continuing playing, then your chances of spending actual money are greater than if it's just sitting on the shelf. And keeping used sales down is considered a good thing. But also, if you pick up a used copy of, I don't know, Battlefield or whatever's hot right now, then that's kind of like their gate as well. Like, typically, okay, so if I buy a used copy of God of War, I pop it in, I play it, that's it. The studio doesn't get any cut of that. It's whoever I bought it from. If I buy a used copy of, we'll go with Battlefield again, then there's a high chance that the studio is still going to get some money.
Sure.
I buy a skin or a gun or I don't know, whatever they sell. So it's kind of a way for them to go around the used market a bit. And just, sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. And then, let's see. I had notes. But continuing development. So you have, Red Dead launched, and it was like a massive undertaking, like 8 years or something. 2,000 actors, 110 musicians. Like, game development is really expensive, and it takes a very long time. And if they can recoup those costs in any way, they're going to do it. So you get, GTA Online, Red Dead Online, and I guess they have microtransactions. I don't know. I'm not really big on console online games, so. But I know, the time and the cost associated with that development, and just something like that was a massive undertaking, and I'm sure it was very, very, very expensive. And when you're selling games for $60, and you have been for the past, 20, 30 years, and those costs haven't risen with inflation, then you have to make your profit back some other way.
Yeah, I think those are good points. Do you think, though, that kind of going off of what you said there, with the market kind of going away from physical games, do you think that that's going to change the way that developers now see microtransactions? I mean, to your first point, where you're saying there's a way to recoup from the used market. Do you think that now that, I mean, really, because places like GameStop and even Best Buy and other places are kind of shying away from the whole physical releases because it just seems to be a trend going the other way. I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a good point, but there's still player engagement, keeping you engaged, making sure you're playing the game over and over. So if that's adding a new gun or a new skin or something new that you can buy, then it's still going to happen that way. And also, like, even if it's a digital copy, platforms are still taking their percentage. So it's not like a free-for-all where, Rockstar releases a digital copy of Red Dead and they get all the money. They don't. They absolutely don't.
So I'm going to go back to what you said a little bit about how expensive a game like Red Dead was. But pouring all that money into the making of a game and coming up with, one of the best games of the year, many would argue the very best game of the year, isn't that in and of itself a way to recoup your costs simply because you will just sell that many more copies because everybody's so excited about how fantastic this game is?
You would think so, but if you notice, and it's kind of depressing, like if you notice, I played God of War, bought it day one, great game, but a month later it was on sale for like $40. And that's because gamers don't really want to pay full price for anything anymore. I call it the Steam sale culture, where everyone's just like, oh, Red Dead came out, but I'll just wait for the Steam summer sale, But that mentality it's pretty strong in the, I don't know, we'll call it the culture, to where no one wants to pay full price and we'll just wait for a sale.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thought there too, because I think also not just that they wait for sales, but I think that we do have a lot of games now, right? So like when Mike and I in Blue talk about this all the time, like when we were kids, like, we would get one game and that was it, and then you just play the heck out of that game. And now there's so many games, like we have so many options for games that for me I will admit there are some games that bigger games like Kingdom Hearts 3 I probably won't pick up right away because of the fact that I have so many other games that I can play right now, and then I'll probably pick it up when it is on sale.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everyone is competing for each other, and it's not only that, but they're competing with free-to-play games as well.
Yeah.
Which, definitely throws a wrench into the equation. So, God of War, Red Dead launches, and that's great, but they're competing with League of Legends and Fortnite and whatever other free-to-play games. So it makes it kind of hard to grab those sales and pull the people away from those games for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too what you said about how that it allows the developer to continue to develop games too and continue to grow that. So I guess I think Fortnite does a lot of this. Do you think like a lot of studios then like practice? I'm going to go a little bit maybe into a little bit of like theory here, but like agile development where like they work in sprints and they try to get things out the door so that way they can move this to production as quickly as possible. Is this that allow then the online mentality to allow, and make microtransactions for that matter too, to allow that to happen then?
I think depending on the game and the developer, that definitely happens, but that can, like, you see a lot of it backfiring when you release like DLC and it's on the disc, or you're shipping out unfinished products and you're like, oh, Fallout 76, oh, we'll patch it later.
Yeah.
So I think studios have to be careful balancing that kind of thing. So you get, I don't know, I play a lot of League, so you get a patch every, 2 weeks or every month. And I'm sure that they are rushing the development of that patch, but if you rush, any other thing, then it's going to backfire, and people are going to take notice, and they're going to bitch on Reddit and Twitter and wherever else, and no one's going to throw down the money that you expected them to throw down.
Sure.
I'll agree. Even with you were talking about with content on the disc, Capcom got so much flack for was it Street Fighter Cross Tekken, because it was discovered that their that all that content was originally on the disc, but it was locked behind a paywall. So not only were you paying for that, so that actually started a huge discussion on if it's on the disc and you purchase the disc, do you own that material, and should you have access to, or that data, and should you have access to it in the game without having to pay an extra, extra fees?
Right. There's there's right ways to go about it, and then there's wrong ways that just feel really scummy, and that the community calls out, and rightfully so. And the paywall, or the DLC behind the paywall, is definitely one of those, it feels more scummy type situations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you said, there are some scummy ways of doing it and some good ways of doing it. So, can you think of any examples where microtransactions were done well and something that maybe like other developers and publishers should, take a look at and say this is the right way to do it?
Uh, yeah, going back to League, I play a lot of League. I think Riot does the microtransaction thing fairly well. Like, you can pay for characters and you can pay for skins, or you can earn them through just playing. And when you do plop down $10 for a skin, it gives you no competitive advantage towards someone who hasn't spent a cent on the game.
That I'll agree with. I will 100% agree with you on that, because I think it's really is a point of contention when there are certain games, online games, that are basically they're free to play, but they're pay to win.
Yeah. So
and yeah,
once
like
you
Star
go
Wars.
that, yeah. Once you go that pay to win route, again, people take notice. It's pretty scummy, and you're going to get called out on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even now, I haven't played it myself, but from what I understand, Warframe has microtransactions as well, and that kind of makes it. But I don't know if that necessarily makes it pay to win, but if that makes it pay to level up your character, because it's a co-op game. So I wonder if what our thoughts are if that's done well. So if it's like pay to win on a competitive edge, I think that's wrong. But I think having a microtransaction as an option to help level up your character on a free to play game, as long as it doesn't affect other players, I think that's more acceptable than the other option.
Yeah. Blizzard does that with WoW, I think. You can pay to instantly level a character to cap or close to cap. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't feel like leveling or you've done it, a dozen times before, then by all means, if you want to spend the money to level up, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the thing that is done poorly is when it takes forever to level your character up.
Yeah, that is something. That's something you definitely have to balance, and it comes down to what people think is worth it. So if I put 100 hours into League just for one champion, is that worth it to me? Probably not. So you have to find that balance of, oh, well, if he only plays, an hour a day a week, that should be pretty good. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think like Star Wars Battlefront 2 got, with the whole Darth Vader, like, I think it was like you had to pay you could pay money to buy Darth Vader, but also, or you could play like up to 600 or 700 hours or something like that. It was a crazy amount of time that you had to play to unlock him. And that just seems like ridiculous. Like, I get that you want to, but you make money and I get people want to pay for that, and we'll pay for that. But on the flip side, it's kind of ridiculous that take forever to grind. I mean, I think that 2K Sports, as much as it pains me to say this, because I think 2K Sports does a really good job with their sports games, their leveling system for their basketball, like the basketball game, for instance, is like ridiculous. The amount of money you have to spend to actually level your character versus the time that you could actually grind. I mean, the idea behind it is that you're playing a professional basketball player, but you suck so bad. Like you're no better than a high school basketball player unless you spend money or you grind for hundreds of hours. And that's I think that's to your point, David, where things could be done poorly, and really that weight has to be looked at. So
yeah.
Blue, do you want to take the next question?
What do you think game studios can do to win gamers over with games that include microtransactions?
I think they have to go about it, like everyone agrees, if it gives you some kind of, if it's a PvP game and it gives you some kind of competitive edge, then you should probably rethink your approach. But with everything else, I hate to say it because I'm sure I come off like some microtransaction apologist, which is far from the case. But if it's a non-competitive game, then I kind of think everything is a free-for-all. It's all up to the players and the audience as to whether or not they are going to spend that money. So, WoW just had a big thing where they have like a flying pig mount for like $35, which to me is absurd.
Yeah.
But I have friends that are like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's only $35, and I play this game all the time, so it's worth it for me. So I'm like, all right, you do you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because that's even the 2K thing that I mentioned before with the basketball game. I can complain about it and say this is absolutely ridiculous, but it's never going to stop because people buy it anyway. So...
Right, exactly. Like, that's, I think, the thing that gamers our age are afraid of, is we see this creep of acceptance of the practice, and we wonder if in a few more years we're not even going to recognize video games anymore unless we have to pay for them 14 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I think a lot of studios, believe it or not, actually are against it. Because you got Cory Barlog came out and was like, oh, we didn't want microtransactions, we didn't want DLC. I just wanted to give players a game that they can put into their PlayStation. You beat it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a lot of other studios are kind of going the same route. They realize that you don't have to go the microtransaction route, or if you do, then it's completely inconsequential. Like The Last of Us multiplayer had microtransactions, but no one talked about it. It kind of got a free pass, and I'm not sure if that's because no one noticed or no one cared.
Yeah.
Because The Last of Us was known for, the single player and the storytelling. But it was there still. So I think it comes down to how much people are going to care, what all it affects.
Yeah, well, and it's funny that you say that, because I think Blue and I, and I think Mike, you were probably in the same boat too, when it came to Resident Evil 2, the remake, we were all like, oh, microtransactions, ugh, I'm not gonna get the game, and it kind of turned us off. And like, from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like they're, anything that would be intrusive into the game. But certainly, just the thought of that kind of made us puke in our mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, we're in the minority of that, though. It seems like everybody in the world got the game and was raving about it.
Yeah.
But also, having said that, those retro polygon skins are really tempting for me. Like, there's those microtransactions where you could buy to give Claire and Leon their original PlayStation 1 skins. Oh, that's so cool. Kind of like in Odyssey with the Mario 64 skin.
Oh, yeah, but you don't have to pay that. You
don't have to pay for that. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, technically coins.
Well, okay.
It's a microtransaction within the game, but you're not spending real life money.
See, but there are games that do that really well, like that game, or like Cold Cup Revolt, which is a card collecting game, but you use in-game currency to buy cards, but you can use real money to buy different books. Like, it's just skins, so they're really meaningless, and I didn't spend any money on that. But I will say, like, it's awesome that I can see a game where they use microtransactions for, hey, if you just want to have fun and change the skins for your characters or your books, but that the actual things that you're using to win the game, like the cards, we're not going to make you spend real money on that. That's stuff you earn in the game. And to me, I think that's done well.
Yeah, I think for me, if a game is going to have microtransactions, it better be because it's proved itself to me up until the point where it asks for more money. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, Cuphead. Fantastic game, and I will absolutely be buying the DLC. But I mean, if a developer is going to start asking for money before the point when they've even made me fall in love with the game, then that's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, don't design your game around microtransactions.
Right. It should be a good game first, a good game first.
Yes.
And then the microtransactions are completely an afterthought.
Yeah.
So David, do you think that people's perspectives on microtransactions are going to change anytime soon?
Realistically, probably not. Like, even just on this show, you guys, oh, we didn't buy Resident Evil because we heard the microtransactions are there. So, I mean, it already has a stigma. And you have, the big guys like Activision and EA who pretty much gave that perception, in my opinion, and that is absolutely not changing anytime soon. Like, we can bitch about it as much as we want, but people are buying it and people are paying the money, so guys like EA and Activision have no reason to change anything.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, though, we're old, so...
I know. Our opinions should not be taken as gospel.
Well, I think you guys would be surprised at just, like, even with the younger crowd, they realize the same thing, competitive edges and everything else. And it's different if you have a game like Fortnite with skins and everyone wants to, look different or get that cool new skin that Ninja is using or whatever. But it's different if Ninja is using a skin that gives him a competitive advantage, then all those kids are going to be like, I can't afford it, and that's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, even though as an old gamer, it's starting to, I feel myself starting to crack.
Really?
Yes. So my son plays Fortnite, and he loves it, and that's fantastic. That's great. When he first got it, he's like, "Hey, Dad, can I get this outfit?" I'm like, "Okay, well, how much is it?" He's like, "It's this many V-Bucks." And I'm like, "How much is a V-Buck in real money?" And I'm like, and then after calculating, I'm like, "That's like $10 for a skin. No, you're not buying that. You should use that $10 and get a game on the PlayStation Network. You have more time with that." And it's just like, at first I was just like steadfast, no, this is a waste of money. Now I've kind of relented a little. And he's just like, like the other day he's like, there's a new skin for the gun. Can I get that? I'm like, well, you still have leftover money from your Christmas gift cards. I'm like, how much is it? He's like, it's 300. I'm like, that's fine, whatever. So I'm just like, I find myself like cracking under the pressure.
See, the slow creep.
It is, yeah.
I think it comes down to enjoyment and hours put into it before people start justifying it. Like, when I first started League years and years ago, the concept of buying a skin was asinine to me. I was like, yeah, no, I don't care. Just let me play the game. I don't care, to pay real money for this, and this. But after time went on, it was one of those, well, I play this all the time, and I enjoy it, so I don't mind putting down $10 here and there for some skin that looks really cool, So I think if the enjoyment and the time spent wasn't there, then it would be less justifiable with a lot of people. But like you said, your kid plays, he likes it. I'm assuming, he plays often.
All the time.
There you go. So it's kind of justified in a way.
Yeah. And I tell him, I'm like, dude, I got Spider-Man here. Why don't you try Spider-Man? That's a fun game. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't...
Like I said, I equated it to you buy this really expensive scratching post climbing thing for your cat, and it plays in the box.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but I think there is something to say about that too. Is that like, first of all, like Fortnite, just like how people have got so attached to that game, and that's all they play. And when we used, a couple coworkers of mine used to play Pokemon Go, and I never spent any money on it, but one of my coworkers did, and he said, well, look how much time I spend on this game, and I feel like I'm getting enjoyment out of it. I'm getting exercise, so I'm willing to spend some money. And I'm, and his logic was he wasn't going to spend any money on anything else, like any other games, and that was what he was going to spend his money on. And I think in that aspect, like, I think, and those are free to play games too, and I feel like those are done okay. But yeah, I think it's just the ones that, they like Battlefront 2. Like, I hate to come back to that one, but like EA just really made a mistake on that game, and it was not good.
Yeah, I think if you're paying $60 for a game, then the justifications for those microtransactions have to be way greater
Yeah,
than a free-to-play game.
yeah, agreed.
Mhm.
So my last question here: do you think the game industry is going to change their perspectives on microtransactions anytime soon?
I think the game industry is going to find out how to do it properly, and I don't mean that as in, the ways that we think is proper. I think they are going to find a sneaky way to do it that maximizes profits, because it's a business at the end of the day, and guys like EA and Activision just care about that bottom line.
Wow, this is such a depressing
I know.
conversation.
I was like, oh.
But so you get games like League and Fortnite, which make billions a year, but they're free to play, and they kind of come and go as the trends come and go. So League was really big, and then it died down a bit, and Fortnite stole some of the player base, I'm sure. And now that's really big, and naturally everyone's like, oh, we got a Battle Royale game too. After Fortnite dies down, you get the awkward moment in the industry where everyone's trying to figure out what the next big thing is. And that's when EA, Activision, all those guys are going to try to sneak other things in and try to pull that money that people were spending on Fortnite to get them to spend it on their games. And it will be packaged in a similar way. Will there be like, oh, it's just like Fortnite, pay to get this, this, and this. And people, it sounds great, but people don't understand, yeah, that's great, but you also spent, $60 and then $10 for the DLC, or you pre-ordered for $80 for the collection, or, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think that if it drives innovation, then that excites me. But it doesn't excite me if they don't learn from their mistakes, I guess.
Now, I think EA is, I don't know, well, we saw it with, Battlefront and everything. They don't really, it's not that they don't learn from their mistakes, they just figure out new ways to go around screwing people over.
That is true. Blue or Mike, do you have any final thoughts at all?
No. The future looks bleak.
I'm gonna go out and get Resident Evil 2 now, just on principle.
Yeah. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. It was a really great conversation, and I enjoyed having you on the show and talking through these questions. I really appreciate it.
Well, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So before we go, David, how can people get a hold of you or follow you on the social networks?
I'm on Twitter at Hailstorm David, and yeah, I'm pretty much always on there.
Nice. And Mike, how can people get a hold of you?
You could find me on Twitter at TCThrowers. You can also find the Controller Throwers podcast right here on GamerheadsPodcast.com, as well as iTunes and Google Play, as well as find us on twitch.tv/TCThrowers.
Thank you. And Blue, how can people get a hold of you?
You can almost always find me on Twitter. My handle is @WritersView, and it's spelled with a Y, so WRY. And then I also have a website, which is writersview.com.
And listeners, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us at GamerheadsPC. You can also go to Facebook at facebook.com/GamerheadsPodcast. You can also go to our website, which is GamerheadsPodcast.com, and leave us messages there. Or you can send us an email at info@GamerheadsPodcast.com. All right, David, again, thank you so much for joining our show.
No problem.
And Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
And Blue, thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome.
And listeners, thank you for taking time out of your day to give us a listen. We really appreciate it. All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
So long.
Bye.
I also played a little bit of Red Dead Online last night, and I invited you and you said no.
Oh,
It's too bad. That's okay though.
sad.
yeah.
But
it
he's
was
got
funny.
nothing to say.
He's got nothing to say. No comment. That's okay.
I'm sorry. I was distracted by kids screaming in my house. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's funny. That's the same excuse you gave me last night too.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.